It was a fine day in Neverland. The Neverbirds were singing. The mermaids were swimming. The beasts were hunting after the Indians. The Indians were hunting after the pirates. The pirates were hunting after Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. And the Lost Boys were hunting for the animals. They were all going around and around the island at the same pace. So they never ran into each other. Time seemed to pass slowly until, and almost simultaneously, did all the boys jump to Peter's feet with a devilish grin. For what a wicked plan did their minds create. A dangerous dare, of course, at any rate. Peter put down his pipes and huddled close to the boys. Whispers and quiet words were exchanged until the same grin came across his young face. Peter said,
"I hope you say."
And he pondered and touched his chin.
"The dare, you say. What a marvelous adventure."
His face beamed, and shortly after did the boys and Peter fly off in pursuit of finding themselves a Captain James Hook. They followed the leader over every rock, under every tree, and through every bushel there'd be, until Peter stopped abruptly. For not just a few short yards in front of them did lay the Jolly Roger, Captain Hook's pirate ship. The boys popped their heads through the edge of the bushes and quietly studied Hook's repugnant crew. Peter said,
"You can have any one of those buccaneers, but leave Hook to me."
The boys nodded in agreement and quickly made their way onto the main port of the Jolly Roger. Pause. They waited patiently, a hard task for a bunch of boys, until the timing was utterly perfect. Peter raised his sword and crowed.
"Now!"
They attacked the pirates at full surprise. The battle between the boys and Buccaneer was extraordinary. Slashing swords, clanking cutlasses, burning bombs, until every last pirate was rounded up and tossed into the brig.
Go.
Peter flew around the corner and met Hook's sword. With a loud clang, back and forth, side to side, Peter flew circles around the old codfish. The tired and dismal Hook took one last dash. And with that last dash, Peter cut off his hand. Hook fainted at the sight of his missing hand. Peter crowed loud and proud to the Lost Boys.
"I have beat the Hook. I'm the best that ever was."
Peter flew down into the Lost Boys, scattering them about, laughing with glee. He had not yet realized that Hook's hand was still dangling from his sword. But when he did, he plucked the skin off and threw it to the hungry crocodiles that had been circling the ship through the entire battle. With one gulp, the crocodile took down his hand and developed a taste that only the rest of Hook's self could cure. The boys took off after that, in complete success, back to following the leader for more countless adventures. And that is how Peter Pan cut off the dastardly Captain James Hook's hand. The end.
Thank you for watching.
Yep.
This is a story of Tabby Cat and the 3 wolves. Once upon a time, there were 3 wolves. One day, Papa Wolf had made pasta.
I'm Papa Wolf. I'm Brother Wolf. I'm Baby Wolf.
One day, Papa Wolf had made pasta for the family to eat, but it was too spicy. So the family left and went to the park. While they were gone, who should come along but Tabby Cat? Tabby Cat was a tabby cat. She saw the pasta and decided to try it. The first one was too spicy. The second one was too cold. But the third one was just right, so she ate it. Then she went to the game room and saw 3 controllers. When she tried the first one, it needed batteries. The second one, the buttons were stuck. But the third one was just right, so she played games. But it broke. Next, Tabby Cat went to the living room. She saw 3 chairs. The first one was too tiny.
I can't see it.
The second one was too big. The third one was just right, so she fell asleep in it. Suddenly, the wolves returned from the park. They saw the food and said,
Someone be eating my porch. Someone be eating my porch. Somebody's been eating my porch and it's all gone.
then they went to the game. And saw the 3 controllers and said,
Someone be playing with my controller. Someone be playing with my controller. Somebody find my controller and broke away.
Next, they went to the living room.
Someone sitting in my chair. Somebody's sitting in my chair and they're still here.
And look, we're silly. Tabby Cat saw the 3 wolves and ran as fast as she could go until she got home. The end.
Go.
This is Millie and the 4 bears. Once upon a time, there were 4 bears. They lived in a house in the city. I'm Mama Bear. I'm Baby Bear. I'm Teenager Bear. Papa Bear. One day, Mama Bear had made pies for the family to eat. But she had forgot the toppings. No toppings? No toppings. So the family left and went to the grocery store. While they were gone, who should come along but Millie? Millie was a girl with a bow in her hair. She saw the pies and decided to try them. The first one was too crunchy.
The second one was too mushy. The third one was too spicy. The fourth one was just right, so she ate it. Then she went to the game room and saw 4 games. When she tried the first one, it was too weird. The second one was too confusing. The third one was just too hard. But the fourth one was just right, so she played it, but it broke. Then next, Millie went to the music room. They saw 4 pianos. The first one was too high. The second one was too low. The third one was too out of tune. The fourth one was just right, so she played it. Suddenly, the family returned from the store. They saw the pies and said,
Someone's eating my pie. Someone's been eating my pie. Someone's been eating my pie. Someone's been eating my pie, and look, it's all gone. Wow.
Then they went to the game room and saw the games and said,
Someone's been playing my game. Someone's been playing with my game. Someone's been playing with my game. Someone's been playing with my game, and look, they broke it. Wow.
Next, they went to the music room and said,
Someone's been playing my piano. Someone's been playing my piano. Someone's been playing my piano. Someone's been playing my piano, and look, they're still there.
Millie saw the 4 bears and stopped playing as she could go and ran as fast as she could go until she got home. The end.
Oh, well. Thanks for watching.
Still look low, but we're doing Little Jimmy and the 3 Cats. Once upon a time, there were 3 cats. They lived in a gingerbread house on the beach.
I'm Baby Cat. I'm Papa Cat. I'm Mama Cat.
One day, the tabby cat had made cupcakes for the family to eat. But they had no frosting.
There's no frosting. There's no frosting on mine too.
So the family left and went to the store to get some frosting.
Wait, I'm Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy was a baby who was 2 1/4 years old. He saw the cupcakes and decided to try it. The first one was too moldy. The second one was too metallic. But the third one was just right, so he ate it all up. Then he went to the living room and saw 3 chairs. When he tried the first one, it was too hard.
Where is this?
The second one was too small. But the third one was just right, so he sat on it. But it broke. Next, little Jimmy went to the bathroom. he saw 3 toilets. The first one was too small. The second one was too wet. That's right, so he used it. Suddenly, the family returned from the store. They saw the food and said,
Someone's been eating my cupcake. Somebody's been eating my cupcake. Somebody's been eating my cupcake and ate it all up.
Then they went to the living room and saw the chairs and said,
Somebody's been sitting in my chair. Someone's been sitting in my chair. Someone's been sitting in my chair and it's broken.
they went to the bathroom and said,
Somebody's been sitting in my toilet. Someone's been sitting in my toilet. Somebody's been sitting in my toilet and they're still there. Thanks for watching. This is Miss Fitzpatrick's class doing the Jungle Book.
There once was a father who went to the jungle's edge to cut wood. The mother joined him and cooked the dinner by the fire. Sitting by the fire was their son, a young boy who looked past the fire into the brush. He saw 2 eyes looking at him in the dark and heard a low growl. A tiger suddenly leapt from the bushes with a loud roar.
Roar!
The father screamed as the tiger leapt from the bushes and he landed with his 2 front paws in the fire. The father screamed and ran away. The mother screamed and ran the other way.
Ah!
And the boy stared at the tiger as he leapt from the bushes and landed with his 2 front paws into the fire. The tiger screamed at the pain of his burning paws and ran into the jungle. The boy, now alone, walked until he came to a cave. The cave belonged to a mother and father wolf. The boy saw the wolf cubs playing, fighting over a large bone, so he joined them as they played. Father wolf barked.
Rah! He's a man cub. He doesn't belong in the jungle.
Mother wolf jumped in between father wolf and the boy and said,
Look how small he is. Look how he plays with our cub. He's a man cub. He doesn't belong in the jungle. He's a man cub. He doesn't belong in the jungle. We'll go to Council Rock and see what they're doing. He's alone in the world. I think I'll call him Mowgli, which means little fox.
The wolf pack meets at Council Rock. Akela, the great gray lone wolf, sits on Council Rock, and all the wolf packs sit around him.
So, what do you say, O wolf? Should we give this man cub to... Should we return this man cub to the man village, or should we let him run and hunt with the free people?
The wolves howl and speak the language of the free people.
He's mine to hunt!
Came a growl from the bush.
What does this lame tiger have to do with
if I may speak.
You may.
I burn my paws hunting him. Give him to me.
He's not yours to hunt, lame tiger. He will run with the free people and hunt with the free people. And someday he will hunt you.
But he's mine to hunt.
So, should we give this man cub to... So, should we let a man cub run with the free people? Or should we give him to this lame tiger who hunts cows? It's decided then that this man cub will run and hunt with the free people.
But he's given to me. He will come into my teeth until at the end.
All of the people of the jungle speak different languages. It is Baloo, the great old brown bear, who teaches the young cubs the laws of the jungle.
First, I will teach you the language of the wolf people. Next, I will teach. Very well. Next, I will teach you the language of the snake people. Next, the language of the flying people. Kiriki, Kirika.
At that moment, the monkey people high in the trees threw rocks and grass at Baloo. Mowgli laughed.
Who are these people? What language do they speak?
We do not talk or even look at the monkey people.
Monkey people.
Because I am the teacher and I do not like the monkey people.
While Baloo and Bagheera argued, the monkey people came down from the trees and grabbed Mowgli and took him to the treetops. When Bagheera and Baloo realized that Mowgli was gone, they howled and ran through the jungle trying to find them.
Mowgli!
Meanwhile,
The monkey people took Mowgli to the monkey city. The monkeys say to Mowgli,
Teach us how to make the red flower and be a man.
You monkeys are silly. Baloo was right. These monkeys are... Then the monkey people lowered Mowgli by his arms into a pit of cobras. We have one blood, you and I.
We will not hurt you when you step on us.
And so Mowgli of the snake people. So Mowgli did not step on the snake people. And so Mowgli waited in the snake pit until he heard a large growl. It was Baloo and Bagheera. They fought their way through hundreds of monkeys until they finally reached the snake pit. Baloo! Cried Mowgli. Baloo lifted the man cub out of the pit and carried him home on his back. After that day, Mowgli never spoke to the monkey people again. The wolves waited at Council Rock. Shere Khan came hunting for Mowgli. Listen, you pack of dogs. Everyone in the jungle calls you dogs because you follow that man cub.
We are not dogs.
The wolves howled. Give me the man cub. Akela, the leader of the wolves, barked.
Look well, O wolves, look well. Mowgli has returned from the man village.
stood face to face with the tiger. Shere Khan growled and charged the boy, but as he did, Mowgli raised up a branch with the red flower on it. The tiger screamed in terror and turned and ran into the jungle. He never returned on Council Rock again. From that day on, Mowgli lived and hunted and ran with the wolf pack. He had many adventures and one day met Shere Khan as he came hunting. But that is a story for another time.
This is Miss Miller's class, and they're teaching the story of Theseus and the Minotaur. King Midas of Crete was a powerful man, feared by the rulers of every land. When Midas demanded tributes to honor him, the rulers sent goods and men to stop him from going to war. King Midas had built a giant maze, a labyrinth, and at the center of the maze, he kept a terrifying creature that was half man, half bull, the Minotaur. It was powerful and loved to eat the flesh of humans who had been shut into the labyrinth by King Midas. Prisoners would wander through the maze, completely lost, until they at last came face to face with the Minotaur. The labyrinth was created by igneous mind of Daedalus. Daedalus was a brilliant architect and inventor. In fact, he was so brilliant that King Midas of Crete did not want to let him go back to his home and kept Daedalus with his son Icarus in the tower. As Daedalus looked over the waves of the Mediterranean Sea, he realized for a new invention that he was working on. He realized the best plan to escape. He told King Midas that
I need feathers and wax for a new invention.
when these items were brought to him, he took them up onto the roof of the tower. He arranged the feathers into 2 pairs of wings and stuck the feathers of wax together with wax. He fastened the larger pair to his arms and began to flap them until his feet took off from the roof and began to hover in midair. Icarus laughed with delight and could not wait to try out the smaller pair of the wings. Over the next few days, father and son both practiced with them until little Icarus was almost as good as flying as his father was. Then one morning, Daedalus said to Icarus,
Icarus, it's time to leave this island for good now. But we're going to go back to Crete. Athens. And now that you're as good as me, let's escape. But don't fly too low, or else the moisture will catch into your feathers and you will sink to the bottom of the ocean. Nor don't you fly too high, or the sun will melt the wax and you'll fall into the water. Have you understood what I said?
Little Icarus nodded to show his father that he had understood. Then Daedalus led his son up onto the top of the tower, and then, like a bird, he jumped into mid-air and flapping the wings. Icarus followed soon after. Over the seas they sailed, and Icarus soon found that he was really good at flying. In fact, it was the most tremendous fun you could ever have. He began to swoop up and down with the seagulls. His father turned around and called, Icarus!
Icarus! Come down here!
he could soar high above the waves, and the ships down below were like tiny specks. His father called up to him, "Icarus, take care!" Icarus could not hear him and was far too close to the sun, and soon the wax that held the feathers together began to melt. The feathers had even fallen off. Icarus flapped his arms frantically, but it was too late, and down he plunged into the sea. There was a kingdom called Athens. King Minos demanded that every year the king of Athens sends him young women and young men. Every year a ship with black sails would arrive and take the young Athenians away, and they would never return. The king of Athens' name was King Aegeus. His son Theseus asked him one day,
Why do we send our citizens to this type to this?
because if we did not, King Minos would demand a war that we could not win. And they do not return because they are used as food for the Minotaur. Theseus shouted, We cannot
send our young citizens to this tyrant. Next time I will be one of the citizens.
If you do, then take down the black sails and replace them with the white ones so that I know you are coming home safely. As the ship docked in Crete, King Minos himself came down and jeered at the prisoners. Such puny creatures, not even a snack for my Minotaur. Oh. I will let you choose which one goes first into the Minotaur's maze. Which one of you will go first? Theseus stepped forward.
I will go first, and I'm not afraid of what you have in this time, what you have in your village.
Standing behind the king listening was his daughter, Ariadne. From the moment she set eyes on Theseus, Ariadne fell in love with him. As she listened, she decided that she would help him. As Theseus...
Take this string using the pillow.
Theseus walked carefully through the dark, foul-smelling passages of the labyrinth. Turning a corner with his hands held out in front of him, he suddenly bumped into the creature. In an instant, Theseus was picked up between the Minotaur's horns and tossed into the hot air. When he landed on the hard cold stone, he felt the animal's huge hooves came down on his chest. He struggled to stay alive. As the Minotaur bellowed in his ear and grabbed him with his hairy arms, Theseus found his strength and grabbed the animal's huge horns, twisting the head from side to side. As the animal grew weak, Theseus gave one almighty tug on his head, turning it almost right around. The creature's neck snapped, it gurgled its last breath, and fell to the floor with an enormous thud. The Minotaur was dead. In a struggle, Theseus let go of the string. Theseus fell all over the floor in the pitch of darkness and kept thinking he had found it, only to realize that all he had found was the long, wiry hair from the Minotaur. Despair set in, and Theseus wondered if this is where his life would end, down in the dark, all alone, next to the stinking body. Then his hand brushed a piece of string, and with a whoop of delight, he knew he had found the thread which would lead him back out. As he neared the entrance of the labyrinth, the darkness would begin to fade, and he made a figure of Ariadne waiting for his return.
Take me with you. If my father finds out that I have helped you, he will kill me.
Theseus replied,
Of course. It will be cruel to leave you here.
Cool.
Quickly and quietly they unfurled the great black sails of their ship and headed for home.
Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot.
Hooray!
But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville
Did not.
The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knew the reason.
I don't know.
But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart
Bum, bum,
was two sizes
bum, bum,
too small.
bum, bum.
Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's. And go.
How can you stay mad at me?
I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming, for he knew tomorrow all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, and they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, the noise, the noise, the noise, noise, noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, noise, noise. Hey, I'm telling a story here. Then the Who's
Young and old.
would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, feast, feast.
Excuse me.
They would feast on Who's pudding and rare Who roast beefs, which is something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville
The tall and the small.
would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, then the Who's would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing, sing, sing. And then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a
Wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what to do. The old Grinchy the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. Then he chuckled and chuckled. What a great Grinchy trick with this coat and this hat. I look just like St. Nick's. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer were scarce, there were none to be found.
Bow, bow, woof, woof.
So he called his dog Max, then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramble-shack sleigh, then he hooked up old Max. Then the Grinch said,
Giddy up.
and the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. This is stop number 1. The old Grinchy Claus hissed. Then he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. He slid down the chimney, a rather tight pitch. But if Santa can do it,
So can the Grinch.
there were little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he said, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the roast pudding. He took the roast beast.
Not the roast beef.
Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I'll stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. Then he turned around fast and saw a small who, little Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny who's daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cool cup of water. She stared at the Grinch, and all the girls said,
Why, Sandy Claus, why?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot,"
Big Santa Claus lie.
when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then the Who down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound very merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. And he stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags.
This is Miss Ray's class, and we're doing Peter Pan.
The boy who never grew up flew to the top window of a house in London, England. Listening at the window, he heard a mother telling a bedtime story to her 3 children. As the children fell asleep, the mother closed the window and the boy's shadow was trapped inside.
Where's my shadow?
While he flew outside the window, every night he flew back to the window to listen to stories and find his shadow. One night, he crept inside the room and found his shadow. And began to cry. The girl woke up. Her name was Wendy. She asked the boy,
Who are you and why are you crying?
I'm crying because I can't get my shadow back on.
Can I sew it on for you?
Yes.
so she sewed on with needle and thread. The boy told
I'm Peter Pan, and I'm from Neverland.
Peter told Wendy about his friends, the Lost Boys.
babies who fell out of their carriages. Are there any girls in Neverland? No.
Peter then explained how much he liked to hear stories and that the boys needed a mother to tell them stories.
Will you be there, the lost boy's mother? Sure. Sure. But only if I go, Jonathan and I go too. Okay.
So Peter sprinkled fairy dust and flew out the window to get to. This is who was flying to Neverland. Peter Pan, Wendy, her brothers John and Michael, plus a fairy named Tinkerbell. They flew through the clouds all night until the boys became sleepy. Tinkerbell was a tiny fairy who was not used to flying such long distances. When they arrived above Neverland, Peter told them to be quiet with a shh. Below them was an island. Neverland was covered with forests, lagoons, and jungles. In the bay, a rock shaped like a school, and floating in the ocean was the Jolly Roger. On the island, the lost boys are looking out for Peter, and the pirates were looking out for the Indians. Were looking out for the pirates, and the beasts were looking out for the Indians. They were going around and around the island, but they did not meet because they were all going at the same speed. A loud boom was heard, and a cannonball fired from the shot, carrying Peter far out to sea. Tinkerbell told Wendy, "Follow me, follow me." While Wendy was flying, an arrow flew out and hit her in the sky. When Wendy fell to earth, she had been shot by a lost boy. The lost boys took Wendy underground to their hideout underneath the great tree. When Peter found them, he was very angry, but Wendy was alright. The arrow had hit a button she wore on her necklace. Peter and the lost boys cheered as they were introduced to their new mother. However, listening above them by the tree was Captain James Hook. He hated Pan more than anyone.
We will kidnap the boy's mother and make her our own.
One lazy afternoon, Peter and the lost boys went swimming in the Mermaid Lagoon while Wendy sat on Mariner's Rock and fixed the holes in their stockings. She made them all wait half an hour on the side of the lagoon after they ate their lunches, because that's what mothers do. As the mermaids and the lost boys played in the lagoon, the sun started to set. Just then, Peter had a bad feeling.
Pirates!
He said, and everyone, including Wendy, went away to hide. Just then, they did a small rowboat with Mr. Smee, two other pirates, and a prisoner came rowing up to Mariner's Rock. You see, pirates often tie up prisoners on Mariner's
and leave them to drown as the tide comes up.
Captain, we're tying Tiger Lily on the rock.
I said set her free!
Okay, your orders, Captain.
And he cut Tiger Lily's cords. At once, like an eel, she slid into the water. Wendy was very irritated over Peter's cleverness, but became afraid when another voice cried. And this time it was not Peter. The real Hook was also in the water. Wendy saw his hook grip the boat's side, then saw him climb not the boat. Where is the prisoner, Smee?
Where's the prisoner, Sweet? We let her go! You did? Your orders, Captain. I never gave such order. It must have been a ghost.
Hook became very quiet.
Are these waters haunted?
The pirate shivered with fear. Captain Hook called out,
Is there anyone here?
You.
Are you a man?
No.
Are you a boy?
Yes.
a great fight took place with the pirates and lost boys while Wendy and Peter were fighting with Hook. Peter knocked the captain down, but decided to help him up to make it a fair fight. When Peter's pan reached down, the captain hooked him in the shoulder, and just as he was about to strike Pan with his sword, Captain Hook froze. The crocodile, which had eaten his hand, was back for the rest of the delicious captain. So he had fled, leaving wanted Peter to drown at Mariner's Rock. Peter could not swim or fly with his wand. Wendy had to leave him to go and get help. She hurried to the Lost Boys' hideout, crying and telling them how Peter was probably drowned when they suddenly heard his voice.